Welcome to Designed for the Creative Mind, a podcast for interior designers and creative entrepreneurs to run their business with purpose, efficiency, and passion. Because while every design is different, the process should remain the same. Prepare yourself for some good conversations with amazing guests, a dash of Jesus, and a touch of the woo-woo, and probably a swear word or two. If you're ready to stop trading your time for money and enjoy your interior design business, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Michelle Lynn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Michelle Lynn, and I am excited to introduce to you Tara Newman for today's episode. She is the founder and CEO of the Bold Profit Academy, where she teaches service-based business owners how to sell premium services and programs without the emotional stress of launching, worrying about ads, overwhelming social strategies, or complex funnels. Tara hosts a weekly podcast called The Bold Money Revolution, and she has been featured in publications like Money Magazine, Yahoo Finance, and Huffington Post, as well as other publications and many other podcasts. So welcome, Tara. Glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you today. We're right before the holidays. It feels festive.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I need to have like a little festive cocktail or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some decorations in the background. Well, Tara, thanks so much for being here. Let's just start by introducing, what do you do?
Okay. So I consider myself a business growth strategist.
There we go.
I work with, and I always like to be really clear because, right, like when I show up and I talk and people hear what I say, I feel like there's so much responsibility in that. Right. So I always like to be really clear about who I talk to, because depending on who you are, you may or may not want to take what I say and with any grain of salt. Right. So
I think you have a lot of good things to say.
I do, but I'll give you an example. So I work with service-based business owners, primarily women, but also men, who are selling premium service. These are services. These are established experts. These aren't people who are one step ahead. And what I help them do is pay themselves a six-figure salary. Because if they were to go out into the real world, I hate to say real world, but into the traditional job space world, they would likely, very, very likely be commanding a six-figure salary very easily.
Right.
No matter what profession you're in.
Okay. So then you're taking them outside of the corporate or whatever they would be doing as a professional, dropping them into their own service-based industry and ensuring that we get paid as that individual well into the six figures. Yeah.
The reality is most people, at least most people in my audience, have started with another career somewhere. They have other skills that they've transitioned into their business, even if it's not in the same industry. Right. Maybe it has been.
And that's my background. I came out of corporate in a completely separate industry and started my
a restaurant manager.
Yes. I was a restaurant manager and a recruiter, basically.
Yeah. So for sure. Right. So we're all people, and it's usually women. And what gets missed with women is that we're usually necessity entrepreneurs.
Yes.
We've left for a reason. And, today it's so easy to flip open an app and get your business education and start setting your goals based on what someone else is doing and forgetting the original intent of why you started a business, which is likely to create greater flexibility and autonomy so you could spend more time with your family, maybe for your health. There's usually three reasons. I need to spend more time with my family. I don't have, it's, this whole childcare thing is not working. I am the best at what I do. And that is putting so much stress and pressure on me because I keep being the one who has to do everything at my job. So it's creating an unhealthy environment for me. Or I have a chronic illness and this environment is not serving me. And so these are like the three reasons I hear from women as to why they leave and go and do their own thing. There's usually an urgency there where you just up and leave a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
You go and do your own thing. And usually women say, hey, if I can just have more time in my day and make the same money that I was making when I was working for somebody else, like that would be the dream.
Yeah. And maybe even not as much to begin with, but you don't have 100%. All the stress, all the pressure, and just the nuisance factor.
100%. And, we're willing to make these trade-offs. And then we come and next thing you know, everything's 7-figure this, 8-figure that, 6-figure months on online business spaces. And there's this like aggressive push for growth. And it becomes very unhealthy, equally unhealthy, if not more unhealthy than before.
Yes.
Because now you're not being financially compensated the way you were as if you worked for somebody else. And it's really easy when you show up and you do the tasks that are on your job description and your employer direct deposits money into your account.
Right.
But when you're working for yourself, there's like, I think I looked at all the steps at one point, but there's like a good 12 to 24 big steps you need to take to make sure that money gets from your business bank account to your personal bank account.
Yes, all the overhead that has to be accounted for, and then praying that you've got a little bit left over for yourself. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now, so you teach, so I'm just trying to set the who you are. So as we dive down into our conversation, our audience can understand a little bit better. So you teach people how to translate.
I teach 3 things. 4. 3 to 4. So I'm Profit First certified. So if anybody's ever read the book Profit First.
Love that. Yes.
I have my mastery certification from Profit First. And so when you look at the Profit First equation, it is sales minus profit equals expenses.
Yes.
I teach sales. I teach cash flow management, how to profit. I teach marketing and what to do with your money to grow your business.
That is so good. Okay. So that encapsulates who you are. So going forward, I think our audience will have an understanding about our conversation. So you and I had spoken a little bit about in advance. You say strive for $250,000 years instead of $10,000 months. Why?
Well, a couple of reasons. So $10,000 months, everybody's like, oh, this is the benchmark because then you'll have approximately $120,000 a year in revenue. But the reality is that is nowhere near enough for you to be paying yourself and a team. It leaves you very little financial margin. It leaves you very little to invest in your business or in other revenue streams.
I think that is so true because I remember back in my early days, I was so excited. It's a $10,000 month. Yay. But that doesn't cover, there's so many other things that you take out of that equation.
Right. Yes. So my rude awakening, oddly enough, was $100,000 a year in revenue does not mean $100,000 a year that I pay myself. And so some of you, this might be your first moment that you're realizing this, and we all have that moment.
Yes. I started my business thinking, okay, so I can set my own schedule. I can make houses beautiful. I can, change other people's lives and so forth and make a bucket of money while I was doing it. And then it's like, you know what? Yeah, that's not going to happen. I might be working my ass off and not bringing a whole lot of money back.
So I think what you want to strive for is taking home $10,000 a month.
There you go.
And so in order to do that, you need to generate $250,000, about $250,000 in revenue. And what happens when you aim for $10,000 months is you don't price your services appropriately.
Yes.
For the 250 plus in revenue. Now, there's a factor here. 88% of women are generating less than $100,000 a year in their businesses in revenue.
Ouch.
Right.
So that means they're not taking home bupkis.
Right. They're overspending on marketing. They're overspending on team. They're undercharging and they're over delivering.
Oh, you just described our audience.
We haven't been taught.
Yeah, I totally get that. I did that for so many years. It's just, Yeah. So no judgment there, y'all, as you're listening.
None.
And I say it's our audience. Believe me, that includes myself for a long, long time. So how do you get more sales and how do you convert more leads without, like, what do you do? Like, is it social media? Is it Google Ads? Like, what do you suggest?
So before I look at any of that, I want to know why people buy. I want to know who you're talking to and why do they buy?
Right.
Because what I want everybody to think about is how they can create a differentiated strategy in their business. When you come online, what you see a lot of is mass marketed programs, low dollar, high volume. And we think, oh, this is the path to getting out of burnout, or this is how we're supposed to do it. And they're selling a lot of entry-level solutions. And the reality is the women that I work with and the women that I just mentioned, you're established experts. You've likely been doing this for quite a while. And if you're transitioning even to something slightly new, you have skills that would transition to what you're doing.
Right, because we're not going to go start an interior design business if we don't know the first thing about how to make something. Let's just simplicity, so make it pretty.
Right. So you have to stop selling to entry level people. We want you to differentiate yourself, and the way you do that is you go, how is my audience, how is my core market underserved?
Oh, that's a good question.
Where are they not being served? So I can't necessarily speak for you, but I can speak for myself in the sense that when you go online in any online business education space, it's 7 figures. It's 6K, it's 600, it's 6-figure months, whatever the heck they call it. I don't even know.
Right.
It's so
over the top.
It's so inane, right? And the women that I work with do not want $1 million business. They want to be millionaires, but they don't want to own $1 million business. And you can be a millionaire without owning $1 million business.
Well, that's interesting.
So if there are women out there like me who have 3 dogs, 2 kids, my husband owns his own business. So we have 2 businesses in this house. I've got an aging mom, and the thought of having a 7-figure business after retiring from a corporate career, not interested in that.
There you go.
I want a highly profitable business that supports my lifestyle and generates cash flow so I can take that money and invest it in other revenue streams.
Okay. I'm following that. That doesn't suck. That sounds like a pretty darn good goal to have.
Yeah. So the women that I work with, they look online and they're like, I don't fit in here. Where do I go? They're underserved. Right. Nobody's talking to them.
So what does one need to do to create a business like that?
Okay.
Because I think you've got everybody's attention.
I will tell you. Give me one more minute. So with the differentiated strategy, underserved market with an unmet need. There's something that's really important to them that is unsatisfied. So if you think about in your space, in the interior design space, what's everyone saying and what's everyone complaining about? What are they not hearing? What are they continuing to try and find a solution for? What's not being resolved? Right. And so those are the areas where you can find your underserved market who has an unmet need, because if they're still looking for people, they haven't found the solution.
That makes sense. So the homeowners that are hiring us are looking for us to bring them the solutions for their unmet needs.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically it's time for interior designers to sit back and realize that we're not just making things pretty, that we are solving problems.
Correct.
We are problem solvers before we are interior designers. And how do we market that?
What are they really hiring you for? Right? That's the question you need to be asking, because when people buy, they're hiring us, our services, our products to do a job. They want to make progress. And they haven't been able to make that progress, even though they've tried other things.
Right. Because a lot of our clients try to do it themselves and realize that it's not like HGTV where it's just rainbows and unicorns and poof, the house is pretty.
Right. So, you have to find what is it that they're hiring you for really.
Mm-hmm. And is that how you suggest marketing to them?
Yes. So I could talk about build your business. I could talk about grow your revenue. I can talk about increase your sales. I could talk about make money, find clients now. I'm talking about getting you paid like the expert you are.
Amen. Amen
because
to that.
That's what you want. And if I talk to women running service-based businesses who are established experts, and I say to them, let's increase your sales. They get like, I don't know. Sales makes me feel nervous, icky, this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
Right. If I say to them, let's grow your business. Ooh, that feels hard. Right.
Yeah.
Well, like, what are they trying to get? What do they actually want? Well, they want to get paid. Why do they want to get paid? Why do they want to get paid? So they can create long-term financial stability for their families.
Yes.
Right.
Long-term
and now we can talk
stability.
about the multiple revenue streams.
There you go. There you go. Yes. And I think you're right, because you have to remove the fearful topics and get to the heart of it, which is the same thing that we need to do with our clients that we're pursuing, is remove the fearful topics and get to the heart of what they actually want.
Yep.
Because everybody has a different driver to get those problems solved.
Yeah. And so I know that if somebody comes to me, which they do, and they hop on a phone with me and they're like, I want to build a 7-figure online business and I want to sell courses, that's not me. I don't work with them.
Right.
I say no. If they came to me and they're like, listen, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my financial goals and my financial future. And it's really important to me that I start paying myself more than I'm currently paying myself. And I'm willing to do the things that are going to make me uncomfortable to do it.
Right.
That's my person.
Okay. So what do you tell them at that point? Like, because right now you're talking about both business as well as personal finances. And do you get into the nitty-gritty of, hey, your personal finances are screwed up, your business finances are screwed up? Like, do you talk about all of it, or do you just focus on the business?
So what I do is I help people reverse engineer their business based on how much they want to pay themselves.
Okay.
Listen, it's going to save you a lot of sanity. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to direct you to how much you really need to be charging and who you really need to be talking to.
So you start with the business, reverse engineer how much I could take home. Correct. So if I want to make $1 bazillion a year, you would say you need to make X times bazillion. And then this is how we merge into your personal paycheck.
Yeah. So I have a calculator that any of your folks can download. I can give you the link at the end, where you would go in and you would put down your monthly family expenses. And I get, like, sometimes you have a financial partner at home. And so you might either split that out. You might be looking to retire that person. You might be looking to maybe contribute to family vacations, whatever it is, whatever you need to be responsible for, you would put in there. I mean, heck, inflation alone's really increased, right? So we need to be making sure we're getting these calculations right. So you're going to go in and some people freak out and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have that information. I'm like, cool. I didn't have that information for a really long time either. I started my business and I had never managed my own money personally. I started handing over my paycheck to my husband when we were dating. We were living together and we were dating. And I was like, and he's like, let's just combine our money and we're going to be paying bills. We're going to be getting married anyway. And I'm like, yeah, cool, fine, whatever. I was young. And
good thing it worked out.
Yeah. And until I started, and by the way, so I always caveat this, just because I have combined my money, my finances with my partner does not mean that you have to combine your money with your partner. If you are in a position where you are working with something like financial abuse, or you don't trust your partner, or they do shady stuff with your money, please don't merge your accounts. I just want to make sure everybody's safe and don't think that I'm advocating for something when that's not always the best way.
Well, and
So-
also just as a side note there, also because in a marriage, people have two different stories about money. And sometimes, even if it is a healthy relationship, the money arguments come up. It's almost easy. It could be easier to keep them separate.
Could be.
So just a thought there. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, until I ran my own business, I never even managed my own money. He would be paying all the bills. So people say to me like, oh, I can't do math. I can't. Trust me, like, been there. I did not go to school for finance and get a finance degree.
Yeah. But the Profit First is such a model that it is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's
very
simple.
simplified. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and effective.
Correct. So over the last 8 years, I've had to really increase my financial literacy because I do have this belief that, if you're someone who struggles to look at your bank accounts or struggles to look at your credit card statements or anything like that, you really shouldn't be running a business because you're going to do financial harm to yourself and you're going to do financial harm to other people. So in this calculator, you put in what your expenses are. You can guess. We all have some kind of idea of what things cost or what you would be responsible for. The calculator is great because it's there to continually model. It's a calculator. It's for you. It's an Excel spreadsheet and you keep it and you use it and you modify it as you go and as you obtain new information.
Right.
And what it does is it tells you how much money a year you need to have to meet those obligations or those goals. And then it reverse engineers it and tells you how much revenue you would need, how much profit you would make, how much money you would have to pay yourself, how much money you would have to pay for taxes, and how much money you would have to spend in your business.
Oh, wow. That is all encompassing. And how does that work in regards to the different industries?
So Profit First is aggregated across all industries. I will say that if you are in a design business where you have people like in agency style and you have people delivering work on your behalf,
right?
That would be a little more advanced.
Right.
And that would be a little more advanced calculation. But for most...
Oh, gotcha. It's not going to be an exact science. It's a free calculator, but it's pretty darn close.
It will be enough to create some eye-opening. There's a 15-minute training that goes with it that I do. And it's a start.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
A real start because we don't realize that things cost money.
Except for those shoes and handbags that I really love. Imagine trying to bake a cake without a recipe. You kind of know what the ingredients are, but you don't know how to put it all together. After lots of hard work and trying different combinations, all you are left with is a sticky situation and a stomachache. Babe, running an interior design business can feel exactly that same way. That is why I created the Interior Design Business Bakery. This is a program that teaches you how to bake your interior design business cake and eat it too. If you don't want to figure out the hard way and you want guidance to follow, a recipe that has already been vetted, someone that has already been there and done it and will help you do it too, then check out the year-long mentorship and coaching program, the Interior Design Business Bakery. If your interior design business revenue is below $300,000, or if you're struggling to make a profit and keep your sanity, this is the only program for you. You can find that information at designedforthecreativemind.com/business-bakery. Check it out. You won't regret it. So basically what you do is you're like, okay, so here's the free calculator and so forth. But the services that you provide, if I wanted to enlist you, you would say, okay, Michelle, let's sit down and lay everything out because I have employees, I have overhead, I have all these things. And you would say, here's what you need to do. Here's the cost of doing business, basically.
Yes.
And you can bring home $5.
Yes. Yeah. So then if you would, then if anybody needs anything beyond that, then, I would sit down and I would do an assessment with them. We teach people how to do it in one of our programs. So you can do it for yourself. And so you have a better understanding of profit first, because it is really important. I think that the KPI for your business. So I think
KPI are key performance indicators.
Yep. I think it's your owner's pay, not your revenue.
That makes sense. Right.
What's the point? If you're just going to pay yourself the same if you'd be making, listen, it's really not that far of a jump when you look at the hours you're putting in and what you're paying yourself to my son, who's working in a local restaurant, making $16.50 an hour.
Right. Yeah. If we take a look and break down what we're making per hour, it can be pretty discouraging. Been there, done that, laid on the floor of pool of tears, minimum wage. So with that, how I'm trying to form a question. It's at the tip of my tongue. How do you try to drive sales higher so that you drive your revenue up, but you're also taking a look at expenses and guiding that?
Yeah. So the question that I realized that women need to have answered pretty much immediately, if they already have a business and they already have money coming in,
right,
is they need to answer the question, do I need to repurpose or utilize the money I have coming in better? Or do I need to go make more?
Right.
Or both. Right. But what I find is that, and we have, when you download the calculator, there's other resources in there. One of them is helping you plug your money leaks. So if you go through and you plug your money leaks and you're like, oh, well, I didn't have a lot of money leaks. Well, then you need to go make more money.
That makes sense.
If you're like, whoa, I was like really spendy and there were places where I could save some money, then it might be a combination of both. But for the most part, it takes women quite a while working with me to go, oh, I can't diet down this business anymore. As women, we're so used to smalling ourselves up.
Right.
Dieting things down, putting ourselves in the box, tying the little bow. And so that's the first inclination, is to do without, to cut
your budget, cut.
Instead of doing the unfortunately uncomfortable things of going in. It's not just raising your rates. It's learning how to sell at a premium price. And we can all just go change the number on our website.
Yep.
We can all mindset ourselves there too. Like it might take a little longer, but like you can, get your mind finally ready and to go and do that. But then you actually need the skill set to go and enroll clients into
a higher ticket solution,
services at a different level, and be able to communicate your value, which is why we talk about, why are people buying? Why are your people buying? Because that's how you position yourself for the higher price point.
And I think that that's so true, because you have to know, as interior designers, this is a luxury service. Not everybody can afford us. And that's okay, because we don't have to be all things to all people. And I think that identifying the needs that our clients have is just knowing who our ideal client profile is. It's like, are they running towards pleasure? Are they running from pain? A combination of both, or whatever the case may be. And heck, we all know, we're willing to pay premiums in our own world for the solutions that we want. And, my premium might be different than your premium, and my want's going to be different than yours. But at the end of the day, there's enough ugly houses out there that clients are going to come and pay what we need to make a profit. And I think you've also hit on something, Tara, is that as women, sometimes we do play small. And it's time for us to step up and step into the expertise that we bring to the table.
Yeah. So I'm going to give an example of playing small because I have a client who this was her. We just finished working together and she's like, wow, like my biggest insight was I was playing small. She goes, and that's not a phrase that I tend to use. But she had heard that from other people for so many years and didn't know what that meant. So if you're sitting here going, I'm hearing this, but I don't know what it means, I'm going to give you an example from my work with her. So she came to a call and she said, I need to make $10,000 in the next 6 weeks. And all I have in front of me is a $3,000 proposal. So I said, okay. I said, let's talk through the $3,000 proposal. And I started to ask her questions that are consultative, trying to understand this client of hers need. Why are they buying?
Oh,
how are they underserved? What is the unmet need? And I said, so what you're telling me is like collect all the data. And 45 minutes later, I said, what you're telling me is that this is a $20,000 offer, not a $3,000 offer. Right. So if you ask her the same questions that I've asked you, extrapolate that information and then present it to her like this, that's a $20,000 offer. Now, you might not feel comfortable going and selling that at $20,000
because she was ready to ask for $3,000.
But what I want to show you is how you've overlooked $17,000 worth of value.
Amazing.
And that's when she went, I'm playing small, because it wasn't the first time she did it that year. And she was very prepared to go and ask for the $20,000 based on the work that we had done.
Oh, good.
But you keep doing it. You revert back because you default to your comfort zone. Oh
my gosh. Just think about the clothes we put on every day. We have our favorite clothes that we wear over and over and over again because they're comfortable. They might not be the best looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that's really her. She was like, oh my gosh, like I totally get where this is happening.
I love that. I love that. So Tara, I'm still not making the connection between like profit first is a process, but you take that model and you put your own secret sauce in there to help elevate. How did you learn how to do where does that come from?
23 years of being in business in one form or another. I think just trial and error, lots of failure, lots and lots and lots of failure.
Yeah.
I probably have, I don't know, made more money mistakes than most because I'm willing to make them.
Yeah. I understand.
I make mess ups with my money all the time. I tell the women in my program, okay, so like this woman, I'm like, okay, you got a $20,000 offer. I don't actually care if you sell the $20,000 offer, but I want you to propose the $20,000 offer.
Right.
Because that's the actual next step. That's the win. Getting them to propose that higher level offer. I don't care. I want you to fail. If you're not failing, I don't know how to help you.
There you go. And in our society, like, I think in our society, failure is looked down upon, but that's the only way we can grow. And that's the only way we can learn. Yep. So the more failures we have, the more success we're going to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm curious. That. Curiosity is really important in business. Be curious. And so I'm curious. I'm a researcher, and I'm a problem solver, and in solving my own problems, I find solutions.
Yeah. And you can serve others.
Like you can be a millionaire without having $1 million business. Let's touch on that. Cause I know that was something that even when we were in the green room, you wanted to talk about additional revenue streams.
Yeah.
And this was one that took me a little while to figure out for myself, because my husband runs a manufacturing business and we live in a very high cost of living area. He's been in manufacturing. This isn't his first manufacturing business. Oh, we went bankrupt in the last recession. Our first business went out of business and we went bankrupt. That was a big lesson.
That would be a big lesson. Yes.
That was probably worth more than my master's degree in psychology.
Yeah.
So
good stories.
Yeah. We're tired. He's 48. I'm 46. And it's dawned on me that you don't have to wait until you're 65 to retire.
Mm-hmm.
So when I left my corporate job 7 years ago, I said that I retired from my corporate career. I semi-retired, and I'm choosing to do work that I love and do it differently than I would do it if I was working for somebody else. Because at that point, what is the point?
Yeah.
And so I got really interested in this concept of this country and what we call retirement and how we use our money. And then I found the online business space and everybody's talking about passive income, and it's not actually passive.
No.
And I'm like, no, that's not
a bunch
true.
of BS.
That's a bunch of BS. So I got really interested in researching wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually started taking courses to get my CFP, my Certified Financial Planning certificate, as someone who never managed her own money, by the way, until 8 years ago. So I just want everybody to hear that.
You just dove right in, didn't you?
And I barely made it through math, by the way. So, but I speak the language of money. It's something that I do really well. And I had to give myself permission to really lean into that. And so in researching wealthy people,
right,
they have 7 income streams.
I've read that.
Yes. They have 7 revenue streams. They typically look like owning a business.
Mm-hmm.
They look like maybe some kind of royalty or affiliate type payment. It looks like maybe being on a board of directors. It looks like maybe a dividend portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
It could be real estate. It could be stocks and bonds, right? So there are other ways that you can be generating income that don't require you to be earning the income all the time.
Right.
I want everybody to learn how to take the income that they have earned, because you have worked very hard for that, and put it someplace to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to work for it. And in order to do that, you need cash flow. You need profit first. You need to be paying yourself and you need to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the money that you're going to then take and go invest in real estate. So you're going to take the profit from one business and use it to start another revenue stream.
Hence, you don't have to have $1 million business revenue in order to become a millionaire.
You just have to be consistently profitable.
There you go. Otherwise, you don't have the cash to invest elsewhere.
At the number you've decided you need to hit that revenue goal.
And it's not just to make ends meet. It is to become profitable so you can turn around and put it in a vehicle that will provide for you literally while you sleep.
Yes.
Yep. No. And it seems so simple.
But what we're doing instead, in a lot of cases, is we're putting it into Facebook ads.
Yes.
And we're putting it into a team that we may or may not need. And we're putting it into marketing initiatives that may or may not work. And we don't know what to do with it. So we're just putting it everywhere else, but the place it needs to go to generate more income.
Because it should go back, it quote unquote, should go back into the business. Whereas really the business is the business of you. And if we look at ourselves as the business, because even though we're the business owner, it doesn't have to go into that entity. It needs to go into a tool that will help us.
Yes. And I think where we get tripped up is Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, often talks about think like a shareholder, not a CEO. Think like a shareholder. And he said this and I was like, oh, I understand this, because years ago I worked for a CEO at a company, very wealthy, married somebody even wealthier than him, had a ton of money. And his perspective on the business, which I always appreciated, was every year we just need to grow profit 7%. And that was like a really weird number, because even back 15 years ago, this country and our people have a very unhealthy addiction to aggressive growth.
Yes.
We see it everywhere. Right. And so 7% doesn't seem like a heck of a lot when everybody else wants to 10x all the things.
Right.
Right. And I always took that with me, and I'd always be like, oh, remember, he was just like 7%. Like you don't have to constantly be doubling your revenue and 10xing things. And we need to understand why we're doing that, because what I find happens, and this is any investor with any business investment they make, whether it's real estate or anything else, the percent that they're looking to earn year over year isn't a ton. It's 7%, 10%, maybe 15%, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But like
real estate.
10, but like 10 is like a really good return.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to get that on your savings account.
Right. So year after year, compounding that year after year. So if I grow 10% and then 10% on the 10% and then 10% on the 10%.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, yeah, that's how we need to be thinking about our businesses, because why do people spend so much money reinvesting in the business to achieve hyper aggressive growth that they don't need?
Or necessarily want, but that's kind of what the expectation is.
Correct.
Interesting. Yeah. And instead, so the business might be growing, but the profit might not be. So maybe like I've had years where my revenue went up, but my profit didn't. And therefore it's like, why not just take that money and dump it in somewhere else instead of working harder on my job than to make the money towards my retirement somewhere else?
And I want the opposite for everyone.
Yeah, so do I.
I want, and this is where, so we have different phases in business or stages of business. We have startup, growth, but everybody just wants to scale everything. Like we are just scale happy, like scale it. And I'm like, listen, if I could tell you stories about the businesses that I've gone into and have had to scale down because they didn't scale properly. So I put an extra step between growth. We want to get you out of growth because growth is where people get stuck and burn out. But before scale is stabilize.
And that's where quality of life comes in too.
Yes. And to stabilize, you have to answer the question, how can I make the money that I'm currently making, but more profitable?
Yes.
With less of my time.
Absolutely.
Easier. And then when you can do that, then you scale.
I love that. And also and one of the last things before we go into this last segment, honoring our audience's time, so many people look at what they think is an overnight success, and it's taken 20 years. So just because we're looking to the left or to the right and comparing ourselves, there was probably years of that stability before somebody scaled up, or they did a lot of work behind the scenes before they even came forward. So I think that is a key factor that you just said. The stabilization gives you a chance to breathe.
Yeah. I mean, listen, in 2010, I declared bankruptcy. I have an incredibly successful, profitable business now. My husband does too.
Yeah.
We've rebuilt, we have wealth. It's not overnight.
No.
It's
and
not without
it's not
failure.
I was going to say blood, sweat, and tears.
Yep.
But you get to that point where you can just kind of continue managing. I like that space in between the growth and the scaling. Yeah, I think that this is going to give me a lot to think about when we're done. I love it. Okay. So Tara, I could sit here and talk about all things business related because this just floats my boat. But I also like to have a little bit of fun. So
let's have fun.
Next segment is just going to be a quick rapid fire Q&A sesh for the audience to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
So what was the last time you laughed until you almost peed yourself?
Oh, goodness me. My husband and I have been watching comedy on Netflix.
The Schlesinger chick?
Oh, she is hysterical.
I just discovered her. She is hilarious.
Okay. Yeah. I literally spit water out of my mouth and probably peed myself at the same time at her last. But that's what got it started. It was her last
most recent one. Yes.
Yes. And then I went back and watched all her other ones. And then I watched everybody else's.
Yeah. I just caught her most recent one and I sent it to a handful of my friends. I was like, you guys have to watch this. And so we're catching up on all the other ones. Okay. So good. That's hilarious. What is your favorite book?
Oh, goodness. I read so many books.
Yes, I can see some over your shoulder right there.
Yeah, these are for my kids. So I'll say I'm a huge nonfiction fan and fiction. So fiction, I'd say I read all the Outlander books at least 3 times.
My colleague Debbie loves those books.
Yeah. Business books, I would say, if you haven't read Company of One by Paul Jarvis, that's a really good one. And then psychology, emotional. I just read Bittersweet by Susan Cain, and that rocked my world.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I've written all these down. It's one of the fun things I get to catch some new content. Okay. What is the best compliment you've ever received?
Best compliment that I ever received was from a mentor probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And she said to me, it was like this time, it was the end of the year, and we were reflecting on what's happened. And she's like, I just got to ask you. She's from Montana. She's like, I just got to ask you, how do you haul balls the way you do? It's like, you know what? I'm going to take that as a compliment. She's like, you get so much done in such a short period of time. And I was like, I thought that was really funny.
Oh my gosh, that is greatness. That is greatness. What is your favorite productivity hack?
Sleep.
Oh, amen. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, too many to name. I'm a very I can be a very peeved person.
If you had to pick one.
Biggest pet peeve is these days, I'll say, is the divisiveness that we're seeing in the world. Like, let's just all find common ground, people.
Absolutely.
I'm a tired woman. Let's just find common ground.
Amen. Amen and amen. On that, I think we can wrap this up and just, yes, I think the divisiveness is exhausting. But you have brought such great content and such great insight. Tell the audience, how can we find you? Like, how can they find you? If they're driving right now, this information is going to be in the show notes. Where is the best place that they can connect with you?
Yeah. So if you do want the revenue goal calculator, that is at theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue. Really encourage you to come and grab it. It is absolutely free. There's other things in there like the how to plug your money leaks, and, women find up to like $10,000 in their businesses.
Sweet.
By plugging their money leaks. Yeah. Yeah. So these are really, really useful and helpful tools. And then I have a podcast, the Bold Money Revolution podcast. I'm not on social media as much anymore. I'm done. Your girl's done.
Understood.
Those 2 places are absolutely where you can find me, the podcast.
It's because that's where it makes you money, and you don't need to be all over Instagram and shit. Just
that's a podcast for a different day.
Yes, there you go.
That is true.
Good. Be where your money is. Okay, good. I will make sure that information is in the show notes. And then for those of you who can benefit from even more resources surrounding the business of running your interior design business, y'all know that I have a community on Facebook. You can join that. It's called the Interior Designers Business Launchpad. But if you are an interior designer and your revenue is $300,000 or less, or you're just not making any profit, join me in the Interior Design Business Bakery. This is where I can give you the foundation and the recipe to follow. And then Tara can go and finish seasoning it.
But listen to what she said. Be where the money, you said, right? You said, be where the money is. That's follow the money.
Amen to that. That's a sales process. Follow the money. Work closest to it.
Yep.
So Tara, we could go in 99 other directions, but for now, thank you. We might need to get another one on the books.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, y'all. If you love the show and find it useful, I would really appreciate it if you would share with your friends and followers. And if you like what you're hearing, want to put a face with a name, and get even more business advice, then join me in my Facebook group, the Interior Designers Business Launchpad. Yeah, I know, it's Facebook. But just come on in for the training and then leave without scrolling your feed. It's fun. I promise you'll enjoy it. And finally, I hear it's good for business to get ratings on your podcasts. So please drop yours on whatever platform you use to listen to this. We're all about community over competition. So let's work on elevating our industry one designer at a time. See you next time.